everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Attachment Theory in Action. I am really excited to have a wonderful guest with me today, who I had the pleasure of meeting and hosting in person at our recent Trauma Informed Relationship Focus conference back in March 2026. I think that you guys are really going to enjoy his story, his wisdom, and his insight. So please, with me, welcome Norberto Troncoso. Norberto is a nationally recognized speaker, performance coach, and educator dedicated to helping students, educators, and leaders unleash their voice, story, and creativity. Norberto is a Bronx native and former director of speech and debate for a leading New York City charter school. Norberto draws from over 10 years of experience in trauma-informed teaching, public speaking, and theater arts. His signature power framework empowers professionals to create courageous, connected spaces, especially for students affected by trauma, fear, or disconnection. Hi, Norberto. Welcome to our Attachment Theory in Action podcast.
Oh, thank you so
How
much,
are
Kirsty,
you?
for having me. I'm good. Just, trying to figure out this whole thing with the.
With the podcast. It's okay. We're just going to have a conversation. It's going to be natural. I had the luxury of meeting you in person a few weeks ago at our conference where you were a speaker, and we just decided we got to get you on the podcast. Well, you'd been telling me for a while you needed to be on the podcast, which I love. And so I'm so glad that you're here and you are gonna just bring your wisdom and your insight and your journey to our listeners.
No, no, I'm definitely excited, and thank you again for having me. The minute I found out you had a podcast, I'm like, I know I'm gonna be there, and we're gonna speak and empower the people. And I'm just like, I've got to do this because I think it'd be awesome to like really
Mhm.
lock in on this for everyone. I think it'd be awesome.
Well, I know it will be. So my regular listeners know that I start my podcast with the same question. This our podcast is about attachment theory, and we know that our early life experiences can really shape, the road that we go on and the journey we take and our relationships moving forward. So tell us a little bit, was there anything in your early life experiences, your early life relationships that you feel has led you down this path that you're on, the work that you're doing? Tell us a bit about your story.
No, of course. It's always interesting because it's like people are like, you can't let things define you. It's like, I mean, they do though. There's a reason you exist. Like it's you are the common denominator of your experiences. Um, but then you
Mhm.
choose where you move forward. But you can't negate the fact that you got here that way. So for me, a few years ago, I died. I was like well, I died of stage 3 brain cancer for about 11 minutes. And the doctors were like frantically trying to bring me back, led me to a coma. I couldn't move, I couldn't eat, sleep, any of those things. Went to rehab, chemo, all of this stuff. And then the same year that I was in treatment, I lost friends of mine to drug overdoses, gang violence, stabbings, shoot, like a whole bunch of things. And then the next year, COVID happens, and the person who operated on me, the doctor, he died of COVID at the start of the year, like 2 weeks into COVID beginning in
Wow.
America. And I'm here. I painted this picture, but I'm literally like hobbling down like the woodlawn streets of the Bronx with a cane because I'm like I have to figure something out. Like I'm gonna learn what to do. I didn't just like go through what I went through to just die. If I made it, like we got to make this happen and the world's
Mhm.
gonna go down. I didn't know. So all of those things in that short amount of time really colored the way that I approach my work. Because for me, a lot of people may think I'm a lot. They may be like, "You're doing the most, sir." Like it's like even right now, it's like I'm building a program for these schools around the country with GT and Alpha, and like I'm also corresponding with some other organizations. A lot of it is like, "Why are you so pressed for this?" Like it seems like it's a lot. And I'm like, it is. We do not know how much time we have left. We do not know what's going to happen. We don't know how much time we have with the people around us that we love. And we also don't really know what we're capable of. So I'm like, let's just see. I was told I would not walk for at least a decade, and I did it in a year. And I'm like, we're gonna make this happen. But I will not lie to you, Kirsty. It was definitely something where I'm like, ooh, a lot happened. And I definitely had to
Mhm.
sit with those traumas because you know what it is. We conquer and then we're like, okay, bye. Like we just kind of leave with that, but we're attached to what scarred us or marred us or traumatized us. It was a lot.
Mhm.
And I would say that, mind you, was in my adult life. I was in my early 20s. But even before that, thinking about how I grew up in the South Bronx and how I just avoided so many things. But it's like just because you don't acknowledge it doesn't mean you're not attached to it. And for
Mhm.
me, it's like there's a lot of residue, there's a lot of things that attach to me. Whether that was wanting to work hard because it was like I needed to find a way to make it out, wanting to really inspire people. And I gotta give, Benjamin Lundquist, one of my coaches, his props because he unpacked something a couple of months ago that really like hit me like a wall. That usually the thing that you want to give someone as a gift, like you want to pour into someone or you want to be able to give someone something, is because you never got it. So you never want to
Mhm.
let people go without the thing you didn't get. And I'm very I'm very relentless about making sure that people are cared for, understood, loved, even if they're not agreed with, but that they see that if it's all going to work out. Because I never really got that when I was younger. And it was something where I'm like, well, if I can't get it, I don't want to let people not have it. So with
Mhm.
students and colleagues, educators, bosses, leaders, like that's always been my thing, which is what I'm known for, is like that ridiculously hard worker that also is very empathetic. But I'm like, that's because I always saw people that would rather shoot than speak. And I've always seen people that
Mhm.
would rather just judge you than think about why you act the way that you do. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I just choose to take the approach of like, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. So that's at least the beginning of everything.
So, Norberto, first of all, thank you for sharing just a little bit of your journey. We'll dive a bit more into it. But so take us, I want to hear a little bit more about Norberto before your bigger experience of trauma and having brain cancer and so on. Tell me, you mentioned a little bit about, you know, perhaps having some experiences in childhood where you were where some things were missing, where perhaps that feeling of being cared for was missing. And we're not here to lay blame or necessarily point fingers, but can you explore with me a bit maybe where some of that came from, where that feeling came from, or maybe that lack of experience that you had came from?
Yeah, I mean, I can say that, I had a father that worked all the time. And he, providing and trying to do everything for my family. My mother was able to be like a home, like take care of the home, but she went through her situation with a disability as well. So it's kind of hard to kind of rely on things and be consistent about it. Plus, sometimes our parents are stretched too thin, so it's kind of like it
Hmm.
really is. We're trying to figure things out. And I also met people in my hood or my block that I mean their parents were like less involved. So
Hmm.
my mother would be like the go-to. My mother became the mother of the block really quickly because it's like a lot of parents were like, so I just ended up with like friends that were attached to me because I was more consistent, not
Hmm.
exactly maybe because they liked me. But I will say that a lot of it came down to the absence of like parents being normal, if that makes sense. And
Okay.
even with teachers, a lot of times teachers would just be excited at the fact that like, okay, you think this way or you move this way. And I'm like, yeah, but then what you guys saying this, and forgive me if I'm on a tangent, but what you thinking this way or you moving this way about me, it makes me think, okay. but then I don't get to really exist as a normal student or as a like I always think about those that like have like either honors positions or they're like mini leaders in their own ways. And I'm like, I hear that, I get that. But sometimes, you also are somebody that probably play Pokemon. You probably care about these like nice little trinket trivial things. Um, so I was prompted to grow up a lot faster because of the fact that people saw that ability in an environment of mine where a lot of people were just kind of like to themselves, or
Hmm.
maybe they were exposed to things that sucked. Um, and there wasn't really much to do. I mean, I had a situation with someone that like their parent was almost never around. So like they were just de facto in my house and it was all good because we just had breakfast all the time and breakfast became lunch as well. And then or like you just stay here. And I mean I have a GameCube, so like we're like playing Mario Party 4. And it's like we're
Right.
competing. And it's just like back then, I mean, this is what? This is early 2000s, so it's like not like people are like they're like, oh, they're at, Norberto's house, it's fine.
Hmm.
And here I am at the age of like 8 trying to like figure this stuff out. But it's like I'm always like, you seem to be in my house or in our house a lot more than in your parents' house. So then it comes to like what does that look like when you don't want to go to your parents' house and how I just become the de facto, I need you to help me. Or we need to
Hmm.
like all the things. And I'm like, okay, so let me help somebody. But then my issue becomes, well, I mean, I don't really get help then. Because every single time that there was a struggle, a strife, a problem, or whatever, then I'm the one that can help or lead, but I don't get it. Like I don't end up getting that. And again, parents not really being consistently around. Um, Me being someone that was very had the ideas, had the advice, had the all the things. I swear I've been like an Energizer bunny since I've been like 11. Um I was just introverted back then, so I didn't like to talk to people, but I can like in my own little corner
Right.
energize. So, but my thing is like when it came to the opposite side of things, like me getting that stuff, I never really did. So I just kind of chalked it up in my mind of like maybe I don't get these things. And I think
Hmm.
where that materialized for me in my early childhood would be I would be okay with giving. I would be okay with
Hmm.
pouring into people and not really expecting or wanting anything in return, not because I need it, because I did, but because I just assumed that I wasn't gonna get it.
Get it.
So
It sounds, and so what I find interesting is that you're, often we hear, I have guests on, or we hear about young people who experience very kind of extreme trauma, abuse, and neglect. Your experience sounds different to that in terms of, maybe you had a dad who was working a lot, mom was in the home, but maybe wasn't always as emotionally present as you needed her to be. And so it wasn't that you necessarily experienced a big trauma, but there was just some of those inconsistencies, right? But it was enough for you to want to help other people. And I wonder if part of your drive to help others was kind of maybe some people-pleasing behavior to begin with. Like, if I give this to them, maybe I'll get my needs met too. And, but as you've described, this kind of catch-22 situation of I'm helping, but I also need my needs met, but these peers can't meet my needs because they have their own needs and I'm trying to support them. And so it's an really interesting dynamic
it's
to
funny you
grow up
say that.
with.
Um, so two things came to my mind when you said that, Kirsty. The first was it's interesting because if I'm trying to meet the needs of people who didn't get the needs from the people that they need to get their needs from, I don't get my needs because they don't have their own needs, but when they get it, they're okay and they don't know what to do to give me needs, and I don't get
Mhm.
needs from the people that I'm supposed
Yep.
to get my needs from because they don't know what to do. Like again. love them to death, my parents, right? But like they're not the most emotionally available people. Like
Hmm.
emotionally
Hmm.
intelligent people, just no. Like, and again, given me growing up as a Dominican Puerto Rican uh man kid from the Bronx, a lot of times it's just like just shut up, and I'm like, okay. Which again comes it does show up in the way that I execute. Not like I'm telling these students to like just shut up, don't cry. Like it really is like you can do it. Like even whatever you're going through, we'll be able to
Hmm.
execute well. And that's a good way to look at things, but a bad way of how it originated. And that's where
Hmm.
it's like, ugh. So like there have been times where like I don't I will show up for people because in my mind I'm like at some point someone's gonna show up for me. And even though it hasn't
Hmm.
really happened as much in like my life, it's like, I that's just kind of who I am. But like sometimes I feel like that's just ignoring like the emotional aspect of it for my sake. And the second thing, I had a visual of water, like waves just like pushing against like the rocks and like just the air. And it's like you don't really see it as like that big of a deal. Like it's just happening and it's happening. But then hundreds of years later, the rocks have eroded.
Hmm.
Like, and I
Hmm.
think in the sense of what you're saying, yes, it may not be so much so that I've been through like high level trauma in my youth, because then later on, whole different story.
Right.
Like in my youth, it was like it wasn't that compacted and like a lot in that small amount of
Hmm.
time, but it's like that eroding feeling of like over time it's morphing me into a certain type of person that may have that has that people pleasing tendency, that
Hmm.
has the need or want to like show up for individuals unapologetically and unexpectedly, just thinking that like you will be loved, cared for, understood, all the things. I won't,
Hmm.
because that's just something I've never really gotten. And yeah.
I was just writing down what you had said then about that eroding feeling and, over time molds you into a certain person. And I think that, I think that that's so powerful because many adults that I speak to, I think have had a similar type experience. And again, it's not because their primary caregivers were intentionally being malicious or abusive towards them. It was they were doing the best they can with what they have and what they had at the time. Um, and whether that be down to the circumstances that they're in or their own experiences of upbringing, they were just doing the best that they could. And so, but unfortunately, that inconsistency in not meeting needs does play a part. It does shape us. And I want to go to something else that you said that you said that some of the way of managing in your family from based on culture was kind of, okay, shut up, you're going to be fine. Like kind of we brush it off. And you mentioned that, you don't, that's not what you do with the kids. But at the same time, you do want them to see, and we were talking about this before we came on, but their potential. And so I think that you have, because of your experiences, you have this way of being empathetic. Yes, this happened to you, and I'm going to use this knowledge to help me understand you as a person, understand how you're showing up. But I also want you to see that there is a place beyond what happened to you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. I do agree with that because I think my goal has always been to be emotionally intelligent, especially for the communities that I grew up in. I can't say it's the community that I serve much anymore. I serve them, it's just I serve a lot of people now. Like
Right.
I think about as I'm moving and in those spaces and I'm having conversations with people in other countries, right now that we're like, planning to speak to. There was a school in London that I may be going to in the fall, and I think the conversation becomes like, what does this look like for kids in other places on their socioeconomic environments? Because I know that for Bronx kids, my whole thing has been you will be loved ferociously because of the
Mhm.
fact that I know that's what you need. Like obviously, my whole thing is we will make sure you're elite and skilled, and I breed national champions. Like that's yes, because I know we have to get past the whole what is stopping you, that block, and sometimes it is emotions, which is why I say we have to make
Mhm.
it a system. But we already know you're on that trajectory. We do have to come back and acknowledge the fact that like if the system doesn't exist, what are you feeling? And is it more than just, oh, I'm just sad today. I missed the
Mhm.
bus. But it's like you missed the bus because you had an argument with your parent earlier on. And that's an argument you've already had for like the fourth time this week. And they said something they probably should have never said that makes you have like suicidal thoughts, and you're going in, and the algebra teacher is supposed to make you feel happy. And it's
Mhm.
like, and it's hard because you don't know what to do. So your defense mechanism is I'm going to scream at them. I'm going to
Mhm.
yell, throw tables, which they're going to just, ship you off to the social worker, which I hope you have a good experience and relationship with, but maybe you don't. And
Mhm.
then 2, 3 classes later, you come to me and I'm here like, we not going to do this. But my thing goes before I just absolutely just douse you with detentions. Like, let's have a conversation, even if briefly. I'll get everybody doing their work and stuff, and then we can go to like a table in the classroom, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And they won't share it. Like they will just, no, I'm
Mhm.
fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm just like, okay, cool. But I mean, I don't believe you. And it's okay. You don't have to tell me right now, but you do need to understand you are being seen in a good
Mhm.
way. I acknowledge that you're not all the way okay. I know you're doing the most. But one, don't take it out on me because I'm trying to help you. And two, it's okay for you to feel the way that you feel. You just can't, crash out and throw tables because that's not going to help. Um,
Right.
but I do want you to understand it. You need to talk about it. And that is derived from the fact that I didn't get to talk about it. Again, the whole shut up, it's going to get better. And
Mhm.
my thing is a lot of it has been, rooted in faith for me as well. Because I do believe that things do get better. But I also think that we don't do well as adults by just kind of like stuffing it
Mhm.
so much, and then we just yeet ourselves 10 years later and we're accomplished or successful, all the things, but we never dealt with it. And then it just
Mhm.
just showed up while you're
Mhm.
like accepting a Grammy or something, and like you just start crying for no reason. It's not because you got the award. Like you start crying because you weren't hugged when you were 12, and you
Right.
never really talked about what that made you feel. Not that the
Mhm.
fact that you weren't hugged, but that you felt rejected and you decided, let me not talk with anybody about it. And then
Mhm.
30 years later, here you are. And I think for me, that ends up being the thing because I always wonder, like, do I, is it really necessary for me to have people show up for me? I don't think it is. But then I'm like, well, that's probably your trauma talking. That's probably
Mhm.
your lived experience talking. Because if you can make it in your mind that you don't need anyone to show up for you because you never had anybody show up for you in the past, so you don't really know what that looks like, then it's very easy for you to wrap in your mind that it's not something that you need. And then we
And
deny our
that you
needs.
deserve.
Yeah, then you deserve. And we deny our needs. We deny what we should be getting, what we should be deserving of, because
Mhm.
of the fact that we didn't get it, so there's no need. So we're ignoring the hole in our system, in ourselves, that we should be filling, but because we've had it vacant for so long, we've operated
Mhm.
without it. But it's like it still needs to be there because it completes you. But it's like, well, I'll deal with that later. Because I've been
Right.
so well, I've been walking wounded for a long time. It doesn't matter that much. And it's like, well, it actually does. And I think
Mhm.
we're okay and we're comfortable with being suboptimal because we've operated decently, arguably well. And it's like, oh, but if you could only see what it's like for you to be whole,
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
I mean, there's so much that can happen. Like I think about a lot of, my peers that have died, from in a myriad of ways. And again, I'm 30. I've lost a lot of people. And I think about if there was one thing that they needed that I know they never got, that they could have gotten, a lot more of them would still be with us today. And
Mm,
I say that to as someone who grew up with them and they're gone. And I'm like, oh man, I need to be able to do that for anybody that I serve.
hmm
Adult, student, leader, they need to. We're all the same in that way that there's something that we fundamentally need and we need it solved. So, um, a lot of that is born out of the fact that I never got a lot of that. And I do hope I do, but
hmm
I think that's the case for a lot of people. And I want them to really recognize that the whole you needs to come to the conversation, not
hmm
just the one that is present right now.
Yeah, I mean, you said, they need to recognize, and that was just where my head had gone was that, you said, well, maybe I will get those needs met, maybe not, but the first step is really recognizing that and acknowledging and um not even acknowledging, but what's the word? Like inviting that part of yourself to be present, to say, I am somebody who needs connection with other people. I am somebody who has emotional needs and that they need to be met, and that's okay. And because I want to show up as my whole self, I love that. And I think if that's why we have to be okay and we have to support our kids in connecting the dots, right? You mentioned the kid who missed the bus, and the reason why he missed the bus was because he had an argument, and that argument was the same one he'd had 4 times already. And kids don't always understand how those pieces can all connect together. And so if we just dismiss, then they grow up with the inability to connect those data points and saying, well, this is why I'm feeling this way. This is why I'm reacting this way. And here's what I could do differently, or what I need to do differently, or I need to set up differently in my life so that I don't continue with that same pattern. Um, so I just Norberto, some great conversation. I want to shift us a little bit because I want our listeners to hear a bit more about some of your work that you're doing. So, and this isn't a big shift, but tell us about your saying of doing it scared. So, what does that mean to you? What does that represent to you?
A lot. I mean, it's so. I think we don't understand how the weight of our words is much more than we think. I like, when you say a sentence, you're like, yeah, it's like, no, no, there's a lot. And for me, doing it scared has been derived by a lot of things, markers in my life, but also in like my journey with cancer. Um, I'll say three rapids for me. In middle school, I was a shy, introverted kid who never talked, which obviously is completely opposite than where we are right now. But I didn't want to be seen. I was okay with being in the corner. I was playing baseball, which is again, I don't have to like acknowledge my feelings or anything. I just hit a ball and it's okay. I'm good. I was doing very well, so it wasn't like I sucked. I was good at baseball. But this teacher came to me and she's like, "Hey, I heard you can sing, and I was a part of like a choir in the Bronx, and I was one of their like lead people. So I'm like, uh, okay, I don't know how you know that, ma'am, but she's just like, you should try out for the musical. I'm like, what is that? And she's like, it's like where you can act and sing, and I'm like, you can do both at the same time. I've never heard of that. Mind you, I'm 10. I'm not I'm very confused, and she's like, well, audition for it. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to, but because you're an adult as a kid, I'm like, I guess I have to listen to adults, especially if they're my teachers. So I auditioned and they had like the callback list, like to see who was like gonna be in the show. And I looked from the bottom up because I'm like, this is a charter school that is from grades 5 to 12. So every one of those grades is in the show. There is no way I am one of the principal characters or anybody remotely important. So I looked and I went down. I'm like, okay, no, I'm not a tree. I'm not a tree. I'm not a tree. I'm not a shrub. I'm not in the show. So I went home and she called my mother that night. She's like, why didn't Roberto not show up to practice? my mother can't speak English. So she just gives the phone over to me and I'm like, ma'am, like I'm not in the show. I didn't see my name. I'm not a tree. She's like, no, you're Agwe. This is Once on This Island. And in Once on This Island, there's there's two girls that are the leads of like the main person, and there's four gods. And then that's essentially the lead list. And I'm one of the gods. I'm like, are you insane? Like it was just like 12, 12, 12, 12, 12 me. And I'm like, why are we doing this? You're insane. You don't even really know me. So it's like, yeah, but I see something. I don't know. Like I think which is a potential thing I talked about. Like I see that. So I'm like, okay, ma'am, whatever. And the show went so well, and it just really turned in me into a theater kid. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. And Kirsty, am a man of my word. If I say I'm doing it, I'm doing it. We gonna find a way. So I
Mhm.
said I'll be in the shows. That's 8 show commitments. But I'm like, I committed you to being like me being in your shows for almost a decade. But I did it, and it was a great experience. And my high school career. Um, my high school career, I remembered that because I'm like, man, I did it scared because I was terrified. I don't like people, and I'm in front of hundreds of them doing a show. And the first one
Mhm.
I can't. So in high school, someone approached me and they're like, "We would love for you to be a part of the speech and debate team." I'm like, "Absolutely not." What are you kidding me? First off, I think this sounds like an ESL class to me. I can speak English, and he's like, no, like this is like it's a competitive, like you can like you act, but you also like debate and you do all this stuff. And I'm like, sir, I'm not doing that. And they're like, well, we would love for you to just come in shadow. Shadow meant I was going to do it. I'm like, wow. My first competition was Yale University. I walked into that
Wow.
room, and when I tell you, I got blown out the water. I'm like, Lord have this was bad. However, I didn't know what to do because I'm not a quitter either. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? And that whole do it scared became very important for me because I'm like, well, I have to try and figure it out. Like I plan ways, I like practiced, I like put the sheet on the paper, like on the board to like learn how to memorize because I'm like, I have to memorize these speeches and stuff. And every single time it's like this is terrifying. And I have to find a way to do it. There has to
Mhm.
be a way. And lo and behold, at the end of my 4 year stint, I guess my high school career, I was a double state champion and I took second in the country. So I'm like,
Wow.
okay, got it. That's at that point, I'm like, okay, got it. So when, people have been like, you should mentor these kids, like the middle school, and then that became a thing where I turned into like an assistant to like the coaches at the school that I was at. And a lot of it was kids are like, this is dumb, or what the beep? Like kids, like they just were so much so I'm like, this is dumb and I'm terrified and I can't do it. And I just look at them, I'm like, you're so cute. I have literally been in this position, you're gonna be okay. And you'd be surprised. You might end up doing better than I did. I mean, why not? Like, I was one of the only people of
Mhm.
color that was in the top 10 in DC when we did like the national tournament. So I'm like, I know what you're capable of. There's only so much.
Mhm.
Like, and we can fast track it because I was scared for a long time and then figured it out. At least now I know what to do to coach you guys. So we did it and we worked and the kids started doing much better and then they made me like an actual coach but like of the middle school so we had them we prepped them up they started like running ragged and like all of the things and then like I became the head coach and then like a bunch of schools were like oh my gosh Norberto I just became like the guy and like and the country is like if you're like trying to get these kids to go from like failing and like CD averages to like just 6 figure scholarships. Norberto's your guy. Like there's no way. And I'm just laughing because I'm like, all it was me committing to doing it scared. What me
Mhm.
committing to like seeing what can happen. And it has led to being able to give millions of dollars in scholarships to these students and like just coaching like near 100 champions nationally. And when the cancer happened and it just kind of stopped everything. Like I was doing just fine. I just had a migraine that persisted for months to find out it was a brain tumor. And it happened as it happened. And when they told me that the first surgery was botched, it didn't work out. We need to prepare you for the second surgery. So you're going to go through rehab and you're going to do the surgery again, and you
Mm.
will probably not make it, but it's our only shot. And them telling me this the day, basically Christmas Eve 2018, I'm like, okay. So I was terrified for like a week trying to figure out what to tell them as to whether I'm going to commit to the surgery because before they had to try and resuscitate me, but like I was unconscious, so I couldn't make decisions, but now I can,
Mhm.
and that's like I have to make a decision. Are we going to commit to it, or are we just going to hope that like I'm
Mhm.
gonna be okay if we just wait it out? And I'm like, no, I survived within a sliver of my life, and I can't just not try. So I worked in
Mhm.
rehab. I did everything that I could. The surgery happened. And then I woke up and I'm like, okay, so I'm not dead. Got it. And it just started building. I could speak again. I started kind of moving again. The doctors got kind of shocked because I'm like, my gosh, you're recovering a lot faster than we thought. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, I have no other option. Like, I might as well give it my all. And now with students, anytime I hear the whole, oh, I'm scared, I can't do this, or I'll get to it later, we're gonna see what can happen. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
you cannot, because my emotions are what almost made me not do this. Like
Mhm.
absolutely. And doing it scared is you have to stop treating your emotions as your driver. You have to make yourself the systematic driver. So write down your goals, write down your plans, whatever your homework assignment needs to be, whatever you need to accomplish by the time you graduate, or by the time you get out of college, or by the time that you know you are going to the next stage of your career. What are the things that you have to accomplish, and are you executing them every day? And if you didn't do it, then you audit what happened today. I would also emotionally audit and say, okay, what did I feel about this task? I may be terrified. The goal is not to remove your fear. The goal is to move through it. So in all the stages of my life, what's happened is I've just been doing it scared because I haven't had another option. There is no option. There's no plan B. Like
Mhm.
you just do it and then see what happens. And you are going to be so much farther ahead doing it than not doing it. The worst thing that can happen if you don't do it is you just live a life of regrets of what if. So I could have, but we don't know. But like if you go and you try it, even if you fail, you're way closer to succeeding than if you never did.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
unfortunately, Kirsty, I am living proof of that. In every single stage, in that middle school play, in that high school team, in the college coaching thing, the cancer, now what I do for a living, I there like 100% success rate of seeing what can happen of just getting better by just trying. So
Mhm.
with everyone, it's like just give it a shot. You'd be surprised. And then we can diagnose, okay, what are the things that aren't working well? For the students, middle schoolers, they love it. They always talk about red flags, like, oh my God, she's such an eight, but like she like her breath stinks. Like little dumb things like that. So I flipped it and I said, okay, so you're telling me you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, or you're going to be someone that's going to get this scholarship from, let's say, University of Southern California. But your red flag is that you wake up so late that you end up missing 3 classes every morning. So we need to make a plan. Why is that? Could very well be that you just think that school is pointless. But maybe you got that leaked into your head because you had an unfortunate like conversation or interaction with like your aunt or your uncle, and like your parent doesn't know why you feel that way. They just see you being kind of irritable and blow uppy, and then like you show up, you miss the bus, so we go right back to where we talked about. And then now your
Mhm.
mom's mad at you for the fourth time, and you're just like all these things. So you're like, "Ugh, I don't want to go to algebra because I don't like the teacher. Are you sure? It sounds like it's a lot more than that. But again, a lot of that is we have to write it all out and we have to figure out, okay, what is the action plan? Because you have to have a desire and a dream. And a lot of our students and the people that we mentor or we coach or we work with, they just don't have aspirations. They're just
Mhm.
like, AI is going to replace everything. And why do I try? And it's like, there's a lot of reasons why you try because you're one of one. So, because of that, you are precious and you need to be cared for, which again goes back to the stuff I didn't get when I was a kid, but you
Mhm.
will get it.
Mhm.
And now it's like, well, we got to see what can happen. Well, now I'm terrified because things can go any way. I'm like, well, okay, so choose a way and go. You can always just turn back. You can change things up. If you get 4 or 5 years down this path of yours and you realize, I don't like that. Then just pivot. But to stay still, waiting for something to happen and feel right is never going to be the case, which is why the whole do it scared is I'm just heading into the unknown and we're going to
Hmm.
see what happens. And if I'm wrong, but I'm further. If if at least I went somewhere. But if I'm right, oh, how awesome. Your life is going to be
Hmm.
in whatever you
Hmm.
chose to do.
I hear you being that in our field, what we would call the secure attachment base, that you truly believe in those kids or those leaders or those people that you're working with. You have just this drive within you that spills onto other people. But what I also love is that you are doing it while also being fully accepting of how they're showing up in that moment. You know, yeah, you're having a hard time today, but but you don't have to stay stuck here. I see the potential that you have. I see where you can go. I believe in you. I'm here for that yucky stuff, but I'm also here to help you see how you can get past it, which is what I love. It's not one thing or the other. We can be who we are, we can show up how we're showing up, but we don't have to stay stuck there. Like, I feel like that is something that resonates from you, like just the message that you're giving those people around you, is that potential. Um, Tell me what power means, Norberto. You have a great acronym called by the way of power. Will you share that with our listeners today?
No, yes, ma'am. Power is such a it's hilarious because it's like sometimes I feel like it's more complicated than that. I'm like, no, no. We overcomplicate the simple. So power stands for presence, ownership, wavelength, energy, and resonance. And sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, big words. It's like, nah. So presence is how you show up. Like we'll use the kid who got yelled at 4 times as the example, right? If you're showing up dysregulated and angry and frustrated and all the things and feeling like you're not worth much, then that's going to affect everything. To resonance, how you leave people feeling, how you affect people. So presence is how are you choosing to show up? Yes, the day sucked. It was what it was. I acknowledge that. But now, what are we doing? Like, how can we figure that out? Maybe you could show up a different way. If you come into my classroom and you just fling a chair into the wall and it breaks, I'm like, okay, I have to stop the lesson now because you just grr. But that happens. So what happens in the way that you show up? Oh, being ownership, are you owning the fact that you show up that way? Because it's one thing for you to show up that way, but then you do acknowledge it, or you're just like, no, I'm fine. It's like, are you? I don't
Hmm.
think that's the case. So we need to fix the way that you show up, and then we need to have you owning the fact that you're showing up that way, which means I'm owning the fact that I'm upset. I'm choosing to show up differently because if I can do that, not because I'm denying my emotions, but I'm being more systematic about the way that I approach people, then you're gonna be just fine because at the very least in this moment, you're learning what to do with conflict management, not deferral. Like I don't want
Hmm.
you to just box it all up and I can never say this right. Compartmentalize things. I don't want you to do that, but I do want you to be like, well, now may not be the time. I want to yell. Maybe don't do that in a library. Like there's always time, place, and space. So that would be ownership. W stands for wavelength. And wavelength is really, am I connecting with the people in the room? I feel like a lot of us educators don't do well with that because it's just like, I'm going to bury them with detentions. It's like, well, wait, wait, wait. Like their mother died. Maybe there's more to that. Like, I would think you need to understand the student, understand the colleague. If a colleague is just angry and like snippy, there might be something. It's just like, okay, Janet, I understand you want to like burn the kids or whatever, but like maybe are you okay? They might,
Hmm.
might have had a whole situation. She might be getting evicted. Like, but she's not gonna say that at work. But maybe you're the
Hmm.
safe space. So that's a thing where we have to like really connect with people. And like if you're sad, let me be sad with you. It
Hmm.
sucks. Like, and then we'll work on getting better. But I need to meet you where you're at. If you're happy, let me show it. I personally may not care about what makes you happy in this moment, but you're excited about it, and you probably need somebody to be like a champion for you as well. Someone can be your cheerleader. So that can be, it really is just kind of reading people and where they're at. And then E is energy. Because the thing is, for those, like I said, where they're at, cool. We've both been sad. We've acknowledged it. Now I have to motivate you to do better. Like I understand, person like I understand, Janet, you've been like, going through this stuff, you've been yelled at 4 times, the whole thing. That's true, right? Real. We are feeling those things. But now we have an assignment, we have an accomplishment, we have a goal we have to go after. How are we going to get there? Because despite the fact that you're going through things, you have a deliverable, you have an assignment, you have a thing that you need to do. Because you don't want to just be rotting all these days and then getting upset later that you just wasted a month when you could have been doing
Hmm.
something. It doesn't have to be 100, but it has to be something. So what does that look like? And do I empower you to help you out? Empowerment isn't anything crazy. It's just, I will be by you. I will make sure you understand you're going to make it. And for students, it's like, yeah, this sucks. You got a bad grade. Absolutely. Are we studying though? Like, are we going to do the things? Maybe you need to get a chicken sandwich from Popeyes because that's the thing that just makes you happy. So maybe like you need that while you're studying. We could do that. I'll Uber Eats it. We can do that. But whatever I set in place to make sure that you're going to attack that goal and me energize you in a way where I'm pushing you towards it, that's what we're going to be doing. Because I want you to succeed. And then the R is resonance, which is what are you leaving people with? Because I'm a firm believer you're always going to change someone for good. And I always tell people for good isn't always a positive thing. Like we either traumatize or triumph people. Like we either make them feel triumphant or we traumatize them because they have a bad experience with us and we may have been one of their last stops in whatever journey they're going to where they quit
Hmm.
because of you having a bad day and your energy wasn't received a certain way. So you're just there like this kid probably like gave up on a dream that 20 years down the line, they reactivate and realize, maybe I can do this. But I'm like, you just lost 20 years. It didn't need to be lost because you met someone the wrong way. So how are you leaving people?
Hmm.
For good is either permanently or it's for the better. And it could be permanently for the better, but sometimes people like permanently scar kids, students, educators,
Hmm.
colleagues. And it's like you are not really aware of how your words land, do you? Like you
Hmm.
must not really get. It's like, well, it's not that serious. You don't need to listen to me. I mean, yeah, true. That's cool. If you tell somebody to jump out the window, I mean, if they listen to you, that's kind of dumb, but like maybe you have a certain level of influence, or maybe they're already going through so many things in their head. You're the one that made the move. Like you're the
Hmm.
one that caused that action to be taken. So you may not have been the one that did it, but you may have been the catalyst and you may have been the trigger. So really think about how do you lead people? Like, how are they showing up? Are they owning the fact that they're showing up this way and that they can probably show up better? Connect with them, really rev them up and make them feel empowered to do this stuff, and then leave them feeling good. Leave them feeling like they can accomplish these things. Because it's like life is hard already. Like, and sometimes
Hmm.
this can sound very motivation talk-ish, and I get it. I'm glad I can like stir up people and all the things. But the problem is it's more than that. It's deeper, it's psychological. It's like if you can get it embedded in yourself that if you set yourself up to accomplish things, it can improve ROIs. It can do a lot for companies, schools, like so many things. I was talking to a school about the fact that like this very thing reduces the amount of lesson time you lose because now that a student is regulated, they're not going to blow up so much that like they're going to disrupt a class that goes an hour, which if you have 26 kids, you lost 26 hours of lesson time. And then that kid
Hmm.
gets like shipped into the social worker's office for 4 hours because they're trying to like navigate whatever. So that kid has lost 5 hours in a day. So if we can reset them in 5 minutes, then I think it's worth us taking us going through the power
Hmm.
framework and us being able to be like, it's going to be okay. I know what you're going through. I'm not ignoring it. Like, it's real, even if it's not right, but we're going to do what we can to make it work. So that's power in a nutshell. It really is. making sure that you are in power, that you can speak with power, and to be able to be someone that leaves people feeling powerful and ready to go.
Hmm. Norberto, just wonderful. My brain is just thinking about you really do live and preach what your life has driven you to be doing. All of your experiences up to this day, I think are very apparent in the way that you carry yourself, the way that you energize others, to use your words, and empower others. And I just think that it's wonderful. And from my perspective, it's very interesting to see how your experiences throughout your life ha have shaped who you are today, in all kinds of ways. And then I just commend you too for doing it scared all these years and coming up with and being able to utilize something like the power framework to be able to support other young people as they go through and navigate their own changes and journey that they're on. So I just want to thank you for coming on today and chatting to me and sharing your experience with our listeners. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast.
No, absolutely. Thank you.